discussions in Parliament, especially in developing legislation, should be backed up by up-to-date data and information generated through climate research. And especially for Kenya, we have got the Climate Change Act, we have got the other relevant documents, policy documents and plans and strategies. It's an opportune time, especially for the Parliament in Kenya, to really utilize the massive information and data that have been generated through the climate research by different organizations.
Of course, the biggest takeaway this morning is about putting together research in relation to climate change and involving the National Assembly, members of the National Assembly.
I'm really glad to see that there's some serious research within our own context here in Kenya and Africa going on the issues of climate change. Because once you have research, informed by sound evidence, you'll be able to really come up with very good proposals, both for mitigation and adaptation.
The biggest challenge in climate change management is knowledge gap. We have quite knowledge gap within the legislators, the MCRs, member of county assemblies, the policymakers within the county. Climate change is quite new, so there is much need in terms of building capacity.
One of the things that I would say is that we would like a legislation by the National Assembly, primarily targeting funding from the county governments, because that is something that has really been forgotten. It's not a priority in the county government. So this is something that we feel that if the National Assembly can do a bill that will compel the county governments to set aside some funds for climate change issues, that will be a big plus to us.
We realize most of the documents that we are relying on, especially to guide the county climate change policy formulation and operationalization, are developed through the Parliament of Kenya. So what we thought about is, why don't we now engage also with the parliamentarians, and then we look at the way forward. Maybe in 2020, we look at now bringing in the county governments, especially the county assembly members, and also the members of the National Assembly and the Senate.
Kenya is a leader in many fronts. And climate change, I think one of the first climate change law, I think, in Africa. We have climate change policy. We have climate change action plan. We even have a climate change funding policy, which have all been approved in Parliament. However, we have not been able to attract the necessary funding to enable us to implement most of these programs. First, we have not been budgeting it well within our own national budget due to many competing reasons. Also, in terms of really developing bankable proposals that can be funded from climate change financing globally.
There are quite a number of articles that we are following. One on issues of adaptation. We are looking at how support can be flowing, especially financial support. On mitigation, we are looking at also issues of capacity development. How can we get appropriate on time, and how can the support be increased in terms of finance? Because again, capacity and technological issues, they mirror a lot and must be supported financially. So we are looking at how we can look at adaptation, mitigation, and also means of implementation is also very key to us. The finance needs to flow, and so many other projects that are going on need to be supported, and this has to come from the northern countries. So we are looking at how, as a country, we can increase our, our cushioning and decrease our vulnerability in terms of climate change.
The world must now move out of the boardroom and conferences to fund programs related to climate change directly, and especially in African countries, and fund them through easy programs to understand.
So one thing we want to see happen, we really want to see serious funding that have been committed in all these COPs in the past being a reality. That countries like Kenya and others will be able to come up with very good, bankable, viable adaptation and mitigation programs, which will be on long-term basis. so that you can actually deal with climate change crisis.
Each one of us has a space to do something and make this country better and make the world better for all of us.
One of the key activities that we're going to do at the COP is especially support the legislators in the different sessions, using the number of projects that we have undertaken, of course, leveraging research from the different organizations, both locally and internationally, so that we build their capacity, and also we learn. There is an opportunity for researchers also, climate researchers, to learn how policy and legislation making is done, especially at the national level and the sub-national level.